CageSideCombat. I'm Connor, and I'm joined here by Kyle.
Hello.
And Brad.
How's it going, guys?
This is an MMA podcast, and it's going to be where we discuss previous and future events, as well as debate issues and run through the big stories of the week. There's no better place to start for our first ever podcast story than the lowest rated show in UFC Fox history. So, in the main event, Jacare Souza knocked out Derek Brunson in the first round. Were we impressed?
I have to be honest. I didn't see this main event. I stayed up all night to watch this event, and I fell asleep during the co-main event. So I didn't actually see the main event. I've obviously seen it since. I have to say, Jacare, you impressed me, mate. You impressed me. I don't know about you, Kyle, but...
Oh, blown away. Also, fair play to you for making the effort, because I'm pretty sure me and Connor didn't even bother.
Yeah, I didn't.
Not necessarily because it was a terrible card, which I feel like is like the big story. A lot of people saying, oh, you know, lowest rates ever, terrible cards. I would have stayed up for it, but I had no motivation to. But Jacare looked brilliant. I didn't expect him to win it at all. I figured like Brunson's wrestling's too good. He's not getting him to the ground. That's it. Story of the fight.
I think the overriding story of this main event was that Derek Brunson is a real up-and-coming star in that division. He was, you know, as Joanna likes to say, the boogie woman. He was like the boogeyman in that division, which is stacked with real killers. And Derek Brunson was one of the ones that people are really looking to see take on Robert Whittaker in the future. And then Jacare, man, he just came in and head kicked him into oblivion. I have to say, like, especially with what happened in Strikeforce years past, I wasn't really expecting it. I thought Brunson would maybe avoid that kind of a predictable attack pattern, but clearly not. You know, clearly not.
Well, me and Kyle watched the fight together, and we kind of, during it, we weren't really impressed by Jacare, and noting how he was only striking once or twice. But that's kind of what won him the fight, was his counter punches.
Yeah, I have to say, like, not to discredit Jacare, because he is honestly one of the greats of MMA. You know, Strikeforce champion, UFC contender. He has been for a long time. His age says everything, and he's still one of the greats. But I have to say, I have not been really impressed by his current run. Obviously, he's been beaten by the current champ, Whittaker, and his striking up to that point wasn't incredibly satisfying. And then that head kick, I feel like he should have defended. I mean, if anyone listening to this has heard Chael Sonnen break down the podcast, he breaks down why Brunson should have been able to defend that, and he didn't. If and would and could, he didn't. He got head kicked. It looked great, and especially that Terminator walk down that Jacare had, and he kicked him and then just walked him down and finished it off. Highlight reel, and isn't that what we're all about?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing that surprised me when I saw that Jacare won by head kick. I was like, oh my god, this is going to be like a new Jacare. And he really didn't look like new Jacare. He looked like he was doing the same old striking that Jacare does, and he happened to catch him with a head kick that Brunson didn't defend. I wasn't massively impressed. I still think that Jacare Souza is great, but I feel like he just misses that. If he had better striking, he'd be so difficult to deal with because he could set up his takedowns and everything. But yeah, I don't think Jacare is going to like push on massively or anything.
I have to really admit though, like Jacare is in there with some of the UFC elites and the MMA elites in general that came into the sport as serious one-dimensional specialists and have since evolved into much more multifaceted fighters that we didn't actually think they'd ever be. You know, Jacare is a multi-time world Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu champion. To my knowledge, anyway, he hasn't ever competed in combat Jiu-Jitsu. If either of you know any different, then please speak up. But so going into this fight, he's going against a massive striker like Derek Brunson. Everyone was expecting him to win via takedown, via submission. For him to come out in the first round and beat him by a striker, I think is a huge statement in his already stacked middleweight division. But like you said, I'm not particularly convinced it was due to Jacare's amazing striking. I think it's more due to Derek Brunson's under-par defending, which is kind of underwhelming as a main event. Maybe we're being too harsh. Maybe Jacare is not really up to the scratch that we give him credit for. We'll see.
Jacare's number 3 currently in the middleweight rankings. Only 2 people above him, Rockhold and Romero, and obviously they're fighting soon. Does Jacare get the winner of that?
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so either.
I think he goes against Chris Weidman next. I think Chris Weidman's probably waiting for the winner of that. I think he's mistaken. I think Whitaker's probably going to come back sooner than Weidman thinks. And I don't even think he wants the loser of that. Chris Weidman recently got kneed to oblivion by Romero. So
that was a nasty knee.
Yeah, that was a horrendous knee. I don't think he wants the loser of that either, because I do think Romero loses that. And does he really want to fight Romero again? Does anyone really want to see that again? No. So Weidman, Jacare
I want to see
contenders.
That. That's what I want to see, because I felt like Jacare was not going to be able to amount any offense, because I don't feel like his striking is that good, and I felt Brunson would just not get taken down, and I don't think Jacare can take Chris Weidman down, and Chris Weidman's striking is better than Jacare's, I think. So I think that's the one to make, and I don't think they fought before.
No, they haven't.
Which is quite rare at top of the middleweight elite, because they've all been around for so long, and all Gastelum, I guess, but I'm not sure I really want to see that.
I mean, that was the other suggestion I was going to make, is Gastelum. Gastelum is definitely the dark horse in the middleweight division at the minute, because everyone thought, overblown welterweight. Is anyone really going to be able to get knocked out by him? And yet he comes out and starches the former middleweight champion in Michael Bisping. So Gastelum versus everyone. That's what I want to see.
Well, I think going back to the Weidman point, and he submitted Kelvin Gastelum, who is a legitimate legitimate black belt, I think, and has solid jiu-jitsu, and Weidman was able to submit him in the 3rd round. So I don't think it's an easy fight at all for Jacare, especially at 38. Not nice for him at all.
Yeah, it's I mean, it's the argument between wrestling and Brazilian jiu-jitsu. Obviously, jiu-jitsu has always been massive in MMA. It's been almost the cornerstone of a lot of combat sports for a lot of years. I think in the recent years, we've really started to see how wrestling is actually the more dominant ground game, especially for getting them takedowns, especially for dominating that position, especially when strikes are involved as well. I think it'd be interesting. It'd be interesting to see how Weidman's wrestling compares to Jacare's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
There's no better prover of wrestling being great at the moment than Khabib Nurmagomedov. It is just, I have rewatched that fight with Edson Barboza an uncomfortable amount of times, I think.
Yeah,
it's unbelievable.
I went to visit some people in Leeds, and I didn't actually watch the Khabib fight live, even though I'd been advertising it to all my friends. We were too drunk, we were too high, got to that point, couldn't stay up. But the next morning, we all watched it, and we watched it in horror. Wrestling is probably the most dominant martial art in mixed martial arts, and I don't think anyone could argue that. And we'll definitely get into that later when we talk about the lightweight division. But I mean, we just watched Stipe absolutely school Francis Ngannou with wrestling. Imagine what imagine what we could see Chris Weidman do to Jacare if he gets on top position and just ground and pounds. But we don't know because we've not seen it. So, Mick Maynard, get on it.
Yeah. Well, I think that mention of Stipe kind of links us quite nicely onto our next point, which is probably the biggest story of the week. Stipe Miocic will face Daniel Cormier for the heavyweight title, and both will be coaches on a tough season. So, Kyle, how do you see that fight going?
I really don't know. I've got DC. I don't know what it is about Stipe. He looks good in every fight, but I'm never like blown away. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just because he's like a heavyweight, and so some of some of the stuff looks a bit sloppy and stuff. I don't know what it is, but DC for me is just so efficient that he'll get done. But I don't know how he beats Stipe. But I don't think Stipe can beat DC. It's a very interesting fight. I'll give him that, and seeing him coach Ultimate Fighter would be nice as well for a send off for DC. Nice to have him coach the Ultimate Fighter. I think DC would be an incredible head coach in the future as well. So I think that'd be nice to get that experience in.
Yeah, I have to fully agree. To be honest, I think DC takes this fight. Amazing to say as it is, like how he's saying the light heavyweight champion schools the heavyweight champion. Like, it's absolutely ridiculous to even say. But let's look at weight breakdowns. What did Stipe weigh in his fight against Ngannou? Was it 240 something? I can't quite remember.
Yeah.
But
he definitely wasn't Ngannou's weight.
No, and Ngannou weighed in at 256?
Yeah.
I think maximum Stipe weighs in between 240 and 250. And that was the biggest we've ever seen him, because I remember looking at Stipe's record at weigh-ins before the Ngannou fight, and he was averaging around 236, 237. That's DC. That's his walk-around weight. We're not talking about an overinflated fat DC. We're talking about DC. An undefeated at heavyweight DC. An Olympic wrestler. Like, I know Stipe can wrestle, but just because you've seen him against Francis Ngannou, who's never wrestled a day in his life, you're not seeing an adequate comparison. You're seeing Daniel Cormier doing what he's been in the Olympics doing. Like, him going against Volkan Ozdemir, which, again, Volkan's probably done 2, maybe 3 months of wrestling training, maybe a bit of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. You're going against a guy that trained every day of his life for 10, 20 years. The guy's 36, 37. He's probably been doing wrestling since he was 6 or 7 years old. You can't teach that. That's just efficiency. And I think he takes Stipe down. He controls him in positions Stipe's never seen. I think he finishes him. I really do think he finishes him. I think in a very similar way to the way he did Ozdemir just in a later round. We even seen in the Ngannou fight, we saw Stipe doesn't have unlimited cardio. He was looking bad towards the 4th and 5th round. DC doesn't. In the John Jones fight, in the Gustafsson fight, DC looked amazing in rounds 4 and 5. I can't see him tiring. I can't see him losing. And in which case, we see another champ.
I think the only way to beat DC is to either be quicker than him or be smarter than him. And that's what I mean by be smarter, because I think I watched a Robin Black video of how John Jones set that up, and it is amazing. Mm-hmm. And that is the only way you can beat DC, is be smarter than him. And not many people, I don't think anyone, bar Jones, is smarter than him.
No, but not competitively anyway. Not in planning a fight.
Pound for pound, maybe Mighty Mouse, but that's the only one. But that's always the debate. But also, I think everyone will be like with the Ngannou fight, betting against Stipe, and that's kind of where Stipe likes it. He doesn't really like to have anyone on his side, and he likes proving people wrong. And I think there is a potential he can do that. We know DC can take a punch from Özdemir and from Jones, but Miocic, he does have power and can finish.
He certainly does. He also, I just googled it. Stipe weighed in at 246 against Ngannou, so bit of a bulkier Stipe. That might have been intentional, bulking up a little bit, to deal with the size of Ngannou when grappling with him. And yeah, for me, DC's probably got arguably best chin, maybe ever. For me, it's held up so well.
No arguments there.
Yeah, so I really don't know how Stipe wins this. Either he goes and bulks up and he's going for, I'm the bigger guy, I'll get him out of there, which I don't see that working. His cardio's not... It's a strange fight. It really is.
Yeah. It's a strange one in that the heavier man isn't the favourite. And the heavier man doesn't have the knockout ability that normally gives the heavier man the advantage in the fight. Because normally, I know it's not happened often, but normally you have the heavier, musclier guy has knockout advantage, has the power advantage, but the smaller guy has the speed and the endurance advantage. I give all four of those categories to DC. Like, the speed, the endurance, the chin, and the knockout power. The knockout power is arguable, I will give you that. But, DC's laid people out. He has. Maybe he's not knocked them out, but he's put people like Rumble on the floor. He's put people like Gustafsson on the floor. Maybe he's not knocked them out, but he's put them there, and then he submitted them. He's TKO'd them. It's a very interesting fight, and it's why I don't get the flack that this fight's been getting as a super fight. It is one of the best. It's better than Conor versus Eddie Alvarez. That wasn't a super fight.
That wasn't a super fight.
Yeah, that was and I hate to say it because I love Eddie Alvarez, but he shouldn't have been the lightweight champion at that point. It should have been RDA. Fair enough, Eddie beat RDA, but I don't know. I feel like Conor may not have beaten RDA, but we're getting onto a totally separate conversation there.
But do we count Bisping versus GSP as a super fight?
Yeah,
is that a super fight?
I do.
Because I would as well. Because it's GSP who's potentially the greatest ever, and I feel there's a lot of UK bias from us. Yeah. But Bisping he's probably the most underrated fighter ever.
Yeah, I think for sure what you're saying. We have a lot of UK bias because it's Bisping, but I think Americans listening to this will also have a massive US bias against Bisping. I think people don't...
No one but the Brits like Bisping.
No. And I don't know why. When you look at his career, when you look at what he's done, when you look at the fact that he's fought so many fights with his retina pointing west, how can you hate the guy? He talks about his shit, but he does it well. How can you hate the guy?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
My mic cut out then.
Sweet, that's fine. I'll just say that.
What do you say?
But the one big thing that will follow DC round, maybe if he retires without fighting him, it will be there for forever. But John Jones, what if DC wins this? Does he have his retirement match against John Jones? And what weight is it at? Is it at heavyweight? Is it at light heavyweight?
I personally, I am a Jones fan. I don't know if I'm interested in seeing him and Cormier again. Just, it feels like it brings bad omens every time either fighter's getting injured or whatever. So I'd rather just see
Or popped.
There you go. I don't know. I feel like we've seen the first fight was pretty much, I feel like, how it would go every other time. So I don't really need to see that again. I'd rather see the Gus rematch, to be honest. If he's gonna go out fighting Gus, which was a very close fight, or maybe give him somebody at heavyweight. If he does get past Stipe, if he doesn't get past Stipe, then definitely the Gus rematch, I think. If he does, maybe give him somebody at heavyweight. Maybe, that'd be fun. I'd like to see him fight Verdum, to be honest. I think that'd be interesting. So
that'd be such a good fight.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
That'd be great.
Or Kane.
I didn't want to say it.
That will never happen.
Battle of the stamina.
Only if it's sea level.
Kyle is a sea level Kane fanboy, so whatever answer we come up to anything plus 185, Kyle is just gonna go. But what about sea level Kane?
I might have to leave Kane out of the debates. It might get a bit aggressive.
Kane can't walk across the fucking road without help.
Oh.
No, but I have to agree. If DC beats Stipe, I see him retiring. And if he doesn't, I see him fighting John Jones at heavyweight. And if he fights John Jones at heavyweight, I think we get a first round KO by Jones. I think the only thing restricting John Jones in that was a weight cut. Same with DC, but I don't think there's a way that DC can beat John Jones. I think he's just a perfect antithesis to DC. DC is this small, wide, bulky wrestler that has a bit of knockout power. Jones is this long, lanky, muscular, jacked striker, grappler, everything that DC isn't. I think I personally put it forward as the greatest rivalry and the greatest competitive couple in MMA history. I don't think you could ever pose a better one. And I know for a fact when I was waiting up till 7 a.m. to watch UFC 214, when that main event came round, I could not have been more excited. And it was the perfect finish to it. It was just the fairy tale ending that ended in the anti-fairy tale way.
If Deadpool did fairy tales.
If Deadpool did MMA fights, that was what UFC 214 turned out to be, and it just ended in the worst way possible. You know what? I don't mind saying this, but I was asleep when the John Jones Turinabol thing came out, and I woke up to 3 separate friends tagging me in the Turinabol positive test, and I woke up and I was like, "What's going on?" For fuck's sake, John!
It's always the way. Always the way.
And I literally was like, "We do everything for you, John. We do everything for you. You throw it in our faces again. Why?"
Yeah.
The Jones DC, the first fight, was the first and only fight to date that I've stayed up and watched with my dad, because my dad he's about 5'5" at best, and he is quite wide and does look like DC. And I like to see myself as a bit of a John Jones lookalike. So we kind of developed the rivalry over that. And
you taking Turinabol?
Yeah, amongst many others. But that was the first and still today only fight that we stayed up, and that kind of, I still have that connection to these two fights, and I'm gonna kind of disagree, and I want them to fight again. And I am a huge John Jones fan. He's on my Mount Rushmore of MMA. Got me one of the big parts why I love MMA. But I would want DC to win, because I just think that would truly round off the fairy tale, and not written by Deadpool this time.
Yeah, I have to kind of agree. I'm a massive John Jones fan. I have to say, like, we'll probably get into a bit of a GOAT discussion later, but my GOAT is John Jones. I don't care about his USADA pops. I think the display of talent that he has, I don't know how. Like, obviously, I'm not a steroid expert. I mean, I am a neuroscientist and an endocrinologist, but
Yeah, all right.
My expertise on hormones isn't as much as they should be, and so I can't actually say how much it affects performance. But I don't think it affects skill level that much. And the way that he wins fights isn't through brute strength; it's through skill. He spends a round or two decoding what the fighter he's facing is about, and then he just breaks them down. Like, he goes against someone like Shogun violently. He goes against someone like Machida and he fucking chokes them out by guillotine. Like, he goes against someone like Rashad Evans and just assaults them so they can't set up their own position. It's an incredible game plan that I don't think is even planned. It's just a natural ability of fighting. And I don't think DC has a chance against that because he spends 2 rounds against DC. I don't even think he planned that head kick. I think he just seen it in the moment. He seen it, he kicked him, and it's like DC said in a recent interview, he didn't even get KO'd by the head kick. It was, he kicked him, and then he seen the opening. DC has rarely been taken down, I should say. He's not never been taken down. He's rarely been taken down. He head kicked him, and then he saw the opportunity, and he seen the judo kick to the feet, which got DC stumbling, and then he pounced like a predator. Like, you're seeing a high-level combat attack that is rarely seen, even in top-range MMA. I don't see anyone in the world beats John Jones. I really don't, juiced or not.
I was going to say, I think one thing that puts him to the top is he beat TRT Vitor and survived that armbar. That armbar is crazy. Just unbelievable how he survived that.
Yeah.
I mean, fuck. DC is on my Mount Rushmore, and yet he's nowhere near the top of my Mount Rushmore because of John Jones. Maybe you disagree. Maybe you disagree. But like,
I think we could probably do a 3-hour-long podcast on just our Mount Rushmore, and it will be us constantly remembering fighters and then changing our minds.
Yeah,
I think that's.
Yeah,
but I think moving on to a feature. Now we've heard a lot of the dulcet tones of the North, but this is a feature just for him. Each week, Brad will have an issue that he is angry about in MMA. He is a very angry man, and this week is very close to home, shall we say? So, Brad, what are you angry about this week?
Thank you very much, Connor. So, welcome to my favourite part of the podcast. This is Brad's Beef. This is where I get pissed off about something. And this week, you're going to get an earful because this is very personal. So, today's Brad's Beef is all about UFC London, which is the only announced, a caveat with announced, the only announced UK date for MMA. Well, not MMA, actually. The only announced UFC section in the UK at the minute. First of all, I would like to start about the card. I'll caveat it by saying it's not been a terrible card so far. If you actually look up the fighters that have been scheduled for the cards. We have a lot of very talented Eastern European fighters, which are obviously massively up and coming in the MMA world at the minute. There's a lot of Russian fighters, a lot of Polish fighters, obviously being very talented. We've got Khabib Nurmagomedov, we've got Alexander Volkov in the main event. What I want to know is why we've not got stronger British fighters in the main event. We have two massive stars in the UK at the minute in Michael Bisping and Darren Till. Michael Bisping has probably retired. At the point of this recording of this podcast, Michael Bisping has most likely retired. There was a lot of rumours that he was going to be fighting Rashad Evans in the main event of UFC London. They turned out to not come to fruition. I've been talking to Kyle and Connor. I listened to Michael Bisping's podcast as me, you, me, something like that. Shout out to them. Yeah. Nice. The way Michael was talking up until this date was indicating that he would probably be fighting on UFC London. He was saying that he'd been offered a fight, that he was very interested. His co-producer was sent the fight title live on air, and he said that he was most likely interested, and his friends all said that they were game for it. It does seem that his management and his family were the ones that persuaded him against it. I understand why. I really do understand why. He's got a detached retina, for fuck's sake. The guy has been fighting for how many fights with a retina that was probably not attached to his actual eye. He needed to get it fixed, but he couldn't get it fixed whilst he was a professional MMA fighter. I can understand why Bisping wasn't in the main event. At the same time, I think British fans deserve a retirement fight from Michael Bisping, just because of the amount of push we've given behind him over the years. Flipping very quickly, Darren Till. We are soon to rename this podcast the Darren Till Hour, because all three of us are so obsessed with Darren Till. Why the hell was Darren Till not on this card? Like, why? As we'll get on to later, Darren Till has more prospective rivals in the welterweight division than any fighter in any division. He's so exciting that any fighter could have been put against him, and they could have been put as main event, and it would have been the best fight night not pay-per-view, but the best fight night viewing ratings of any fight night in the last 12 months. I could guarantee you it. Instead, what we get when do either of you remember when UFC Gdansk was? It was
no.
It must have been several months ago.
It was maybe
October?
End of October, start of November, because it was when we had a card every weekend, which started
Yeah.
around then. So.
That was nice.
It was about the start of that, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. I think it was the first one.
How much hype was built off that victory? Jesus Christ! Like, Darren Till got projected into the mainstream of world MMA, not just UK MMA, but he was projected into the mainstream of MMA. Where since then, he's had a bit of media since, because of the UFC 3 thing. Apart from that, it's just been all UK buzz. The guy is a natural born star. The UK is right behind him. The UK has naturally been the founding source of much of MMA's biggest stars. Cough Conor McGregor, cough Michael Bisping, cough Jimmy Manuwa. Where is he? Where is it? Sources tell us he was offered the Gunnar Nelson fight, and that wasn't accepted because apparently he wants to fight on the later cards. Fine. I don't accept it. And just on a personal note, I'm going to end Brad's beef with the fact I didn't get fucking tickets because ticket touts bought them all. I was refreshing the page at 10. I still didn't get them. I tried to buy them for £100 and I still didn't get them. My last offer, the last tickets I saw was the £40 top tier tickets for £250, and I think the fuck not. So, thank you for listening to Brad's beef. We'll be back next week with another beef.
Well, there's all his anger out for the week. Now moving on to most of it at least. Well, moving on to more stuff that's quite anger ensuing. Kyle, I know you watched the weigh-ins for the card this week, this weekend, and it didn't go too well, did it?
No, it's pretty strange, to be honest. I've just read an article about Pedro Munoz. Apparently, John Dodson got offered the fight at a catch weight, and he got told that Munoz was 3 pounds over, which wasn't the truth. He was 5, I believe. And so they lied to him, and then he said yeah, and then he found out he was 5 pounds over, and he declined because he fought John Lineker at a catch weight, and Lineker beat him, and he was like, I'm not fighting at a catch weight again. I made weight, so yeah, I'm not doing it. I'm not risking it. And then Eric Anders got given another hour to make weight.
That damn Brazilian water.
Yeah, it's a mess. I mean, that main event is one of the only things that card had going for it. So on one hand, I'm happy they managed to save it. I mean, sure.
Is Machida's last fight going to be at a catch weight?
It's not a catch weight because Eric Anders had an hour to cut.
Has he made weight?
Yeah, he made it.
Well, is it going to be Machida's last fight though?
I think so.
I don't think so.
At least in the UFC, I think so. I don't think it's his last fight, but his last UFC
fight.
Rising.
Oh, that's almost like a swear word. But what does he have to fight for? I think he could set up many things, but he's not really drawing in big anymore. That's why they've had to ship him back out to Brazil, because he's not drawing massive. Like when I see Machida fighting, yeah, he was a big star, but it doesn't really grab me as much as he used to.
I'll tell you what he has to fight for. He has to fight for the King of Brazil title against Anderson Silva in Ryzen. That's what he has left to fight for.
Mate.
Then
I'll
be done with Machida. But until
I hadn't thought of that, but I will sit with that. Get them both juiced to the gills, and let's watch juiced Anderson Silva versus juiced Machida just smash each other's face.
Winner fight
to the
Gabby
death.
Garcia.
To the death, I say.
Well, I was going to say, after the news that came out a few hours ago about Anderson Silva, it's not looking too good for him right now, is it?
Well, just before the podcast started, me and Kyle came up with a very interesting idea for Rising. If they do take it up, I think we should both be paid some royalties, because I think it's one of the greatest promotional things that has ever happened in MMA.
They're probably listening right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Rising, hit your boy up. We got an idea for you. Anderson Silva's allowed to take steroids for 2 years, get jacked to the gills, like ripping at the seams, and he fights Gabby Garcia. Battle of the sexes.
I've come up with an even more elusive idea. We could have the Battle of Brazil. It's a tournament, and it's Anderson, Lyoto, Gabby Garcia, and Vanderlei.
Can we have the return of TRT Vitor as well?
Oh, absolutely.
Definitely.
This is what fans want, Rising. This is what fans want.
So it almost comes into the John Jones argument that we were having before. I think there should be a UFC division. Like, if they're all in one division, then it's not unfair. Just have one division where they're all allowed to do what the fuck they want. So
I'd watch that.
John Jones juiced the gills. Brock Lesnar at 350, 370 pounds, just muscle, just jacked.
Do we have TRT? Well, not TRT. Do we just have juiced Lesnar? And me and Kyle were speaking about this earlier. Braun Strowman from WWE as well. Would you love to see that?
Yes.
Absolutely. I think they should maybe have now Ronda's gone to the WWE. Maybe we should have a WWE division where we just let all the wrestlers fight each other in an actual cage. Just let them do all the steroids they want.
There's quite a few that have made the jump, because obviously Bobby Lashley made the jump, Batista made the jump. I know Jack Swagger, I think he's signed with Bellator.
CM Punk, obviously, the GOAT.
Yeah, how did I forget about CM Punk?
The GOAT.
He's meant to be returning. That's going to be interesting.
Yeah. No.
Against what?
Floyd Mayweather.
He lost to Mickey Gall in a dismal display. So
that's not right. Just a quick side note, guys. Who do you want to see CM Punk fight in his return?
Mayweather.
Catch weight.
Yeah.
Catch what weight? 152.
To be fair, I have Demetrius Johnson destroying CM Punk. I have probably half of that division murdering CM Punk. I have most of the strawweight female division beat. I think I've got Paige Van Zandt.
Oh yeah, with the broken arm as well.
Oh, that was amazing. That spinning back fist, and then she defends a spinning back fist by headbutting her forearm and breaking it. That was pretty excellent. Just by reference, that I have Jessica Andrade beating CM Punk. I think. Are we just going to list loads of female fighters? I have Brad on a hangover beating CM Punk. I'd like to see that.
The cup noodle guy from Ryzen. He'd beat him as well.
Ryzen. That's a good undercard match.
I just take loads of steroids and come in just jacked. Perfect. But still hungover, just like...
Yeah, that's the specific bit. You have to be hungover for it.
Yeah.
Can I have a McDonald's before the fight, or is that prohibited?
No,
is that classed as peds?
Nothing. But you can't get too drunk so that your hangover hits it like midday. It needs to be from morning till dusk.
Fuck. That's fucked things up. So I can't be drunk when I wake up, right?
That defeats the point. I don't think CM Punk would be too happy with that fight. Neither will the Rising board.
However, it's a great story because CM Punk's straight edge.
Straight edge.
Oh shit! Yeah.
Perfect.
Let's do it.
Great.
Let's do it.
I think Rising are currently on the phone trying to ring me to get our ideas on there.
Yeah, I believe so.
Within this podcast, we have come up with 3 solid ideas that Rising will use.
Yeah.
Not even maybe, they will definitely use them.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, now this is the big part of the podcast. Kyle and Brad have been preparing themselves all day for this. This is 3 rounds in the all day. We need to make it look like we put effort into this.
Yeah, go on.
This is a 3-round war in the heavy debate division. This is 3 rounds scored by me. There is a debate for each round, and they have to they get 1 minute to persuade me, and then a 15-second counterpunch. And this is going to be war. I've got thoughts of Gilbert Melendez versus Diego Sanchez in my head when I think about this debate.
You have to do the intros. This is Kyle, blessed by blessed.
Blessed by blessed. I think you have to Kyle explain blessed by blessed.
I'm gonna abbreviate into a long story short. I called Max Holloway a coke dealer on Twitter, and he replied. There you go.
Blessed by blessed, but it wasn't a bad reply. It was.
Oh no, it was a great.
He was
reply.
happy to be called.
It was a multiple reply, wasn't it? Like it was just like a retweet, a reply,
everything.
Yeah, best mate.
Blessed by blessed, and then Brad,
I think
the damage, Dixon.
I was going to go away from
damaged.
I was going to go away from the damaged Dixon and was going to go to the real Kato Kid.
The real Keto Kid.
I
like
I
it.
prefer,
There you go.
I prefer Brad PhD Dixon. The D
That's
stands for
perfect.
Dixon.
PH Dixon.
Oh,
Perfect.
another good one.
I can see merch for that.
I can see merch as well.
Okay, so I'm going to throw a coin and Kyle to call. Heads or tails?
Heads.
It is heads. So, Kyle, you are to go first in rounds 1 and rounds 3. Brad, you go first in round 2. So, first round. Kyle, who should Darren Till's next opponent be?
Okay, are you timing it? Or am I timing it?
I will time starting from now.
Okay, Darren Till should face Colby Covington. I think that makes the most sense. Darren Till should be fighting high-ranked opponents. You know, he just fought Doris Cerrone. Makes sense to me. Colby is offending Brazilians left, right, and centre. He's getting boomerangs thrown at him. Darren Till has a lot of links to Brazil, so that's a great little undertone to the fight. And who doesn't want to see Darren Till smack about Colby Covington?
30 seconds less.
I want to see that so badly. I think it could happen as well, so that's another reason I'm going for it. Colby needs to fight. I would imagine Dos Anjos is going to stick around and fight Woodley. Makes the most sense to me. Whoever wins that probably sets themselves up for the winner of RDA and Woodley, and Darren Till will be champ by the end of the year, so it all works out perfectly.
Cool. It's a good argument. So, Brad, you've seen his argument. Who do you think Darren Till should fight? Starting now.
First of all, it's pure shit because Colby Covington doesn't deserve to be anywhere near it. The golden boy that is Darren Till. The guy that needs to be near Darren Till is my boy, Wonder Boy. Wonder Boy is one of the best strikers in the UFC, which is what Darren Till is. Darren Till is the best striker in the UFC. He's got insane Muay Thai. He's got insane boxing skills. He's got insane distance coverage. Exactly what we need to facilitate the downtake of Wonder Boy. Wonder Boy is an amazing contender in the welterweight division. I shit you not. But does anybody want to see the Wonder Boy T Wood 3? Absolutely fucking not. Absolutely not. Darren Till needs to get in there, close the distance with Wonder Boy, and just smack him up like he did with Cowboy. Darren Till is going to be the number one contender in the next few months. I guarantee this fight is booked by April,
1 minute.
and it's done.
Over 1 minute slightly. That was like Yoel Romero then on a stool.
Oh, go Jesus!
That was, to be fair, I think one of my favourite moments in UFC.
Definitely.
It's just brilliant. Okay, so Kyle, you now get a 15-second counter punch. What do you make of what Brad said, and why is it pointless? 3, 2, 1.
First of all, you say yourself, I don't want Wonder Boy anywhere near that belt whilst Tyron Woodley's got it. Maybe down the line a little bit, but I'm not that bothered about seeing that anytime soon. Darren Till's best when he's giving off somebody, you know, him and Colby will have great trash talk. There'll be great press conferences, great face-offs, everything. Wonder Boy's too nice. He's too preacher's son. I don't want to see it.
Done. Okay, now Brad, your counter punch. 3, 2, 1.
Yeah, Wonder Boy might be the whitest boy alive, but I'm telling you that their fight will set off fireworks that the welterweight division hasn't seen ever. It's going to be the greatest striking match in the history of the UFC, and that you cannot deny. And he will be nowhere near that belt by the time that bell is rung.
Okay, so I agree with Kyle's point that the trash talk between that. I just want Colby to hate on the UK, so I can just hate him even more. And the trash talk would be good. Wonder Boy, I love watching him fight, but I hate watching him speak. But the thought of Darren Till and Stephen Thompson fighting just makes me salivate. It gets me excited. So I'm going to score this at 10-9 to Brad in the first round.
Damn it. I should have mentioned him speaking Brazilian in Scouts. Forgot about that. He would have done that.
Yeah, you should have spoke the whole thing in Portuguese, Scouse.
Yeah.
I think Stephen Thompson versus Darren Till. We saw what Darren Till can do against a great striker like Cowboy Cerrone. But against Stephen Thompson, it would be something else.
That's why I don't want to see it, though, because I feel like he goes in with exactly the same game plan.
That's exactly why I want to see it.
Don't get me wrong, I want to see Darren Till win.
I just want...
Just go in and fucking smack him up.
Okay, moving on to the second round now. Brad to go first. The round is veterans who look better than ever currently. So we classified veteran as a fighter over the age of 37 or 37 and older. So, Brad, who is your veteran that is looking better than ever? Minute starts now.
So my veteran that I wanted to champion was Rafael dos Anjos. Not entirely sure that he's 37 or over, but if you can argue that Rafael is not a veteran, I don't understand who you could possibly argue is. He has started his career as the lightweight champion and has defeated people throughout his career. And now he's moved to welterweight, a higher weight division that he's ever been in, and he looked better than ever. He's defeated Robbie Lawler in a dominant, destructive fashion. And he's now set himself up for probably a welterweight title shot against Tyron Woodley, and he's probably going to be the welterweight champion. And fighting Darren Till, who is the clear welterweight champion. So, there. Cool. I'm gonna end it clearly. RDA.
Okay. So, Kyle, who is your veteran?
Okay. Unlike Brad, I'm going to actually stick to the rules. Just throwing that out there. I'm going with who I think is an absolute steal of a pick. Daniel Cormier is over 37. And
he is 37, I think, isn't he?
Yeah.
38?
Yeah, I think he might be 38. And he is 5 rounds away from becoming the second ever champ, which tells you enough. Started off at heavyweight, undefeated there. Went down, so he lost to John Jones, and we know how that played out. So, Daniel Cormier looks better than ever. He just absolutely mauled Volkan Ozdemir, which I think a lot of people kind of knew was going to happen, but there was always the chance maybe he's lost a step, he's getting on. No, he beat the brakes off of Ozdemir, sent him right back to Switzerland, and like I said, one bout away from becoming the second ever champ.
And done. I think, though I agree with Brad's points, and between RDA and Cormier, I think RDA is currently better than ever. He's looked like a monster at welterweight, but he did break the rules. RDA is 33, nowhere near the age of 37, and Cormier is probably the best pick you could have for this. So
I will say that once I'd picked RDA, I did say, when he said DC, I was like, oh shit, he got me there.
I was thinking about it for a while when DC came into my head. So
10-8.
I would say 10-8, but it would get too complicated. So for easiness for me, I'll go 10-9 Kyle, which means it is all to play for in the final third round.
Bring it, bitch.
And we alluded to this earlier. Kyle, who is going to be the lightweight champ at the end of the year?
I'm tempted to change up my answer, and that's
controversy.
That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go controversial. I'm going to pick Khabib Nurmagomedov. Khabib, he's destroyed everybody. Look at the way he ragdolled Dos Anjos. Look at the destruction of Michael Johnson and Edson Barboza. He's talking to Dana White in between the rounds. Said he took rounds off against Edson Barboza just so that people could get 15 minutes of Khabib. It's ridiculous. I believe everything he says. There's no matchups for him currently in the lightweight division that I think he's not the favourite for. You know, he just so far. I think a couple contenders could come through and maybe they could come up, but not yet. Definitely not at the end of the year. I see him beating Tony Ferguson, and then either if Conor comes back, he'll beat Conor, or if not Conor, maybe somebody like Poirier who.
And done. Controversial change in his mind. So, Brad, who do you have? Who do you see as the lightweight champ at the end of the year?
So, Kyle just went with a controversial pick. I'm going to go with an even more controversial pick because I'm going to agree with him. I was going to argue the opposite and go Tony Ferguson, but general sense says I can't argue the opposite. I believe Khabib Nurmagomedov is going to be the lightweight champion by the end of the year. Literally, if you could see the page in my notes that I'd written, it's just Khabib time all over the page. I don't see a person in this lightweight division that could beat Khabib, which is incredible, saying that he's 25-0. We saw with Stipe and we've seen with DC what wrestling can do. And what Khabib brings isn't just wrestling. It's wrestling with aggression. It's wrestling with absolute dominance. It's wrestling with insane Sambo technique and with this Russian third world mentality, as Joey Diaz says, with this immigrant mentality, this absolute ferocity that brings with it total domination. I don't see anyone in the lightweight division, including Conor McGregor, defeating him at all.
And over. I think you didn't make it easy for me on the final round, both picking the same guy. I agree with you. Khabib should be champion by the end of the year. He's just unbelievable. You both brought up good points. Brad used a Joey Diaz quote. I think that's an underhanded tactic, as I'm the judge and he's my favourite human being ever. But Kyle, you did bring up possibly my most favourite moment in the UFC, which is him just talking to Dana White, and he's just amazing.
I'll tell you what, because we both picked the same answer. Do you want me to argue for around another pick?
If you want,
because
you can.
Because I changed my pick right because I knew that you were going to. I knew you were going to pick Khabib. Like I've been preparing all day to argue Tony Ferguson, and then I was like, wait, I get the first pick. If I pick Khabib, that'll throw you off. But I'm not even going to argue Tony Ferguson. I'm going to argue Kevin Lee.
Kevin Lee?
Yes.
Cool.
Is that... Oh, okay. So after the Brendan Shaw podcast...
Yeah.
We will... So I will give you a minute. Why Kevin Lee?
Okay, Kevin Lee. Kevin Lee, first of all, he needed that big loss in front of a big crowd, all of that high profile to come back better. That just makes sense to me that he'll come back even better. He's going to train with Firas Zahabi as well. That's only going to make him better. I mean, yeah, just his wrestling is going to be so much more improved. I think his jiu-jitsu is so natural to him. Look at the way he choked out Michael Chiesa. And the interesting thing is, Khabib doesn't set up takedowns well. And I don't think he can take Kevin Lee down. And Kevin Lee definitely has better striking than Khabib, especially under the guidance of Firas Zahabi. And that's why I think he'll get it done.
It's a good argument. It's a strong argument.
Am I allowed to respond?
I will give you a 15-second counterpunch.
Okay, we got Michael Johnson was a Division 1 wrestler. Khabib didn't give a fuck. We had Edson Barboza, which is probably one of the greatest Taekwondo strikers of all time. Khabib didn't give a fuck. He took them down and he smashed their face in. We seen what happened.
Cool.
Tony Ferguson will see you in fucking April, bitch.
That's the Russian coming out of Brad there. His Russian heritage. though I do admire the bravery to go with Kevin Lee, I can't see anyone past Khabib. So controversially, I'm going to give the last 10-9 to Brad, even though he did cheat in the second round. I think Usada may have a word or two to say about that.
I cheated in the round that I lost. This is Anderson Silva stuff right here.
But Brad, you are the first winner of the debate, and you are the current heavy debate champion.
We should have a belt. We should have a belt.
We need a belt, I feel.
I think we do need a belt.
To make it seem more grand.
For the next episode, I think we should both make a belt, and then we could just raise it. Whoever wins it.
I agree.
Nice. So I think we're reaching the end of our first ever podcast.
Yeah, that was good.
Brad, I'm going to start with you shouting out Twitter handles, because both of you were shouted out on the BBC MMA podcast, but Brad was given a like in too. So Brad, what's your Twitter handle?
I am Stupid Flanders with an extra S, which is apparently the best Twitter handle that the BBC MMA podcast has ever heard. So, like boy.
Kyle, Twitter handle?
Kyle_Diamond, DIMOND.
And I'm Connor Whelan 73. Thank you for listening to our first podcast, and we will see you next time.